Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Karen Hardy, and welcome to Flip This Risk podcast, where we interview high achievers to find out what their relationship is with risk taking and how that influences their leadership abilities. And today, I'm very excited to have with me Nikki Howard and Jaqi Wright, also known as the owners and CEO of Furlough Cheesecake. Welcome, ladies, to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, it is always an honor to see you and to talk to you. You're doing some really incredible things, especially at a time when a lot of people are very, very scared and frightened about what's going on right now in terms of the COVID, post-COVID, and the COVID crisis. It's really paralyzing a lot of people in terms of what do they do? Opportunities, take a risk, take a back seat, wait and see. But your story is one that encourages people that regardless of the time, there's never a good or bad time to pursue your dreams or to take a risk. So tell me a little bit about your backstory in terms of how the Furlough Cheesecake came about.
Well, my sister and I kind of organically fell upon the Furlough Cheesecake. It was birthed just out of a desire to make people smile. And we started the business on New Year's Eve/day, I guess, when I donated cheesecakes to a church service for New Year's Eve. And Sissy, in all of her infinite wisdom, she and my mama, it just came full circle with the conversation the following day with them. So go ahead, sis.
You know, I got a elevator pitch for this story, Sissy. I never told you. She made it, I ate it. and then mommy said, you should sell it. So that was literally exactly, she hadn't given out of her heart and her desire to make people smile during this furlough, just to do something selfless for somebody else, expensive even, because, we didn't have any checks, but she decided to do it. And thankfully, one got sent home with me, and the rest is history. Eating can pay off sometimes.
Yeah, that's a real test right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is incredible. So how did you go from, having your mother relatives taste the food, taste it, and they say that's great, because that happens all the time, right? In our families, we have this great potato salad recipe or whatever, pudding or secret recipe from our parents. But what made you take that next step to make it more than just something that was in your family, just a day-to-day thing?
I like that question. That's a really good question, because you're right. Everybody's mama or relative, somebody makes something good, but it doesn't always translate into a business. Right. Ours was absolutely ordained, though, because it happened in seconds. The conversation literally, while we were sitting here basking, looking out this window right here and eating this cheesecake, she called. And she, as we do, girl, you put your foot in it. Girl, oh, it's so good. Is this a homemade crust? We went in like we go in when we like something good. And the conversation literally went there. And then it was like, what I'm trying to think what happened. Mommy, while we were doing all this put your toes in the thing, mommy just said, oh, in the same way, oh, it's just so good you can sell it. And I sat up and I'm like, Sissy, why don't we sell it? She said, girl, I'm on furlough. I said, let's call it the Furlough Cheesecake.
Isn't that something?
Just that fast, because her mindset was, I don't have anything to do. We're furloughed. I can do this.
Right. That's incredible. Go ahead.
It's a mixture between circumstance, opportunity, faith, and a real desire to do something. We were kind of raised not to get stuck in a situation or have a pity party. I mean, you recognize, and sometimes you might get a little pitiful, but you don't sit in that party. You figure out something to do. So we've always been the type to get up and figure it out. And in that moment, it just made perfect sense. We laugh all the time. It was like, oh, like the angels singing, and it was just, let's do this. It
was the perfect storm.
Perfect storm. Everything lined up the way it was supposed to. It's funny because the word says that it will all work together for your good, and it literally all lined up perfectly. It even from the outside looking in, when it looks like you have nothing, what are you doing there? You know, it was dark. It wasn't like it was sunshine and birds were chirping. You know, we were in the middle of a storm. It was dark.
Yeah.
But it all lined up properly. And all we had to do was know that we knew that God had it. And we together, you know, could weather the storm. So, you know, we literally closed our eyes, held hands, and stepped out on faith.
You better say it. And stood there afterwards. And we had to keep standing. We stood. That was our
Absolutely. It was definitely a perfect storm, because we remember images on TV, on the news, of federal workers actually standing in line for food, right? For the restaurants, for food pantries, wondering where their next meal or money was going to come from. It was a painful time. And me being a federal employee myself at the time, you know, understanding the pain of that, it wasn't the first time this happened to this group of employees, but it had more of an impact, because people were visually seeing how this, you know, that shutdown impact people that you actually knew. You know, it put a face to the crisis and to that situation. But yet in that time, you all had to look inside yourself, because I'm sure throughout your life, there were many storms that you have faced, right? And those previous storms were probably the test for you to be able to say yes to this, you know, this challenge versus no, right? So how have you grown as a result of saying yes to this? Yeah.
Shoot. It's early for these good questions. My.
There's so many areas I think that we have grown in. One of the biggest things, and Sissy and I were even having a conversation, you know, we have always been very close. And Sissy and I always, you know, we would repeat each other's sentences, and, you know, we were very close, and we still are, but it's a different kind, because we have to work together, and which requires us to have a different level of communication. And so for what we're learning, even now, I would say within the last, 15 minutes or so, right now, we're learning that, you know, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to listen and understand. You have to be willing to accept new challenges, new experiences, and, you know, start each day off with the mindset and the attitude that we're going to make it better than the last day. So it's funny, because with the two of us, we're positive people, but we think very differently. So it requires, this business is requiring something even more special out of us and out of our relationship. And for me, the biggest thing is learning how to shut up and listen and move and grow. So, you know, I love that I get to do this with my sister, because we both said it before. If it wasn't her, and so we laugh, because, you know, we get to
still be a federal government worker right now.
Yes. It's communication and being able to expound upon your ideas and to grow and to plan. Being an entrepreneur is a beast.
It's a beast. It ain't no joke. And that's the thing. I think people glamorize it so much. It seems so attractive. You imagine going to your meetings and your suits and your briefcase and your phones and your computers, and you see all this sexy stuff, and it just seems like, oh, it's just going to be so nice when I can own my business. Baby, if you're not ready to get your hands dirty, if you're not ready to listen, you're not ready to be corrected, you have to be naked going into this thing and being willing to be dressed according to what the business requires. And that is where we are. It's like, you couldn't tell me anything about my sister I couldn't pass on a test. I would be the first one to get all the answers right, because we were Siamese twins in my mind. So you get this great product that she made, and I don't have any problem singing her praises because it's amazing. But then we have to figure out how to get it all out there, how to package it up nice and get it to everyone. And that required us to communicate on a level that we never had to. If you can be around someone that you don't even have to explain yourself, because they already know how you feel. You don't have to worry about it. Nobody nobody else in the world understands me. My sister understands me.
Yeah.
But then you introduce a business.
Yeah.
And it gets real.
Yeah.
That's why I've heard so many family members that say they can't work together.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood that. I understand it now, not because I can't work with my sister, but that takes something different out of you. And you now have to learn this person on a different level. She's not just my sister.
Yep.
She's my business partner now.
Yep.
And that's
which means big sister trump card don't work no more.
Right.
I can't big sister this thing, and she can't little sister this thing.
Yeah.
We have to put our big girl drawers on. Sorry for saying drawers, but we have to put them on and then figure out, let's do this thing as women. Let's get this thing done. And that is something we're stretching now to do and have been doing over the last year and a half.
It's just been a year and a half since you launched.
Only
It seems like, does it seem like it's been longer than that?
Yes.
We're toddlers.
You're toddlers.
It's funny because sometimes it feels like, wow, we just started. And then sometimes it feels like we've been in the trenches for quite a bit. So it's funny that, you know, you can kind of see both sides of it. But we're infants in this thing. You know, we're a year and a half in. So it's still new. And it's still so many different things we're being introduced to that, you know, we're like, okay. And we got to go figure that thing out too. So it's fun.
Yeah.
And challenging at the same time.
That's interesting because you talked about humility is a big part of this, obviously, right? But also it seems as though the first few years in, you're really looking at transformation of your internal self, more so than looking at the business part of it. It's about, wait a minute, the first thing on the list is my own transformation in terms of how I think about things and how I see things, and how you see things influences the decisions that you make in your business, right?
Yes.
How important is that?
So I appreciate the fact that we have two different perspectives. I appreciate the fact that although we grew up in the same household, you know, we view things differently. And that's very important. And I think that's what the world is realizing now, that diversity is key in growing and managing anything that you do. You can't be one-sided, one-minded, and think you're going to be successful. You have to have diversity. And I love the fact that although we share the same parents, and I love the fact that, you know, that's my sister and she knows me inside and out. We are very, very different. And the way we approach situations are very, very different. And what we're learning is put it all on the table and let's work through how I do it, how you do it, and how it should be done. Because just because I think I should do it this way and she thinks you should do it this way, the way we need to do it may be something totally different. And so, you know, you have to be willing to sacrifice your own opinion for the betterment of the business, for the betterment of my sister. That's my sister. And so, you know, it's amazing how we are transforming as people, and it's making us better in business. It's making us better sisters. It's making us better wives and mothers because of all that God has blessed us with this business.
So what is your idea? What is your perspective on risk? Because as I said before, a lot of people are risk averse. They're thinking, I don't want to take that chance because I could lose this, I could suffer that. Is that the right or wrong mindset to have? And what advice would you give them?
What did you call them? Their risk, what would you call them?
Averse. Risk averse.
I like that. I think that a risk is something you really just cannot avoid when you decide that you want to start a business. Whatever kind of business that is, even if it's a nonprofit, there's always a risk involved with stepping out on faith to do something that you're passionate about, something that you want to do, that you're good at doing, you're gifted to do. I just believe that the fear of the risk or the consequences should not overshadow the passion that it takes to do what you really want to do, the product that you believe in. And I say all the time, this was actually a real situation, this business was, because I've heard it before, but I literally have had to make decisions with my knees knocking. The fear didn't go away. I just decided to override the fear. So it's making a decision to override that feeling of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I do this? What if it doesn't work? What if it's this? What if it's that? You won't know any of that until you actually make the decision to take that leap of faith. So it doesn't mean it's going to go away. It just means you do it afraid.
That is awesome.
I think that with the risk, if you're comfortable and you just want to do the same old, then you won't ever step out and do anything else. But if you want to be successful, with success, there are risks. Every person that you look at, every person that you admire, all those people who have achieved something great had to take a risk. I mean, if you want to be average, then you just, float around and do the same old, the same way every single day. But if you want something different, you have to do something different, and that's going to require risk. So, business, risk day in and day out. But with my life, a risk day in and day out. If I want to lose weight, I got to take a risk. If I want to change my hairstyle, you take a risk to cut your hair. Everything about growing is about taking a risk.
Oh, I love that. You talk about if you want to be average or complacent, you could just stay where you are. Now, you do come for the federal government, which is full of fantastic public servants. Government was a kind of compliant environment. You spent several years in that environment. What a transition that was from compliance environment, being told what to do, versus deciding what to do. What are your thoughts?
With all of the things that go with working for somebody else, and I had both of us, we had good careers. We had 6-figure salaries. I mean, we were professionals in this place called the federal government. And while I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for all of that experience, I'd rather, I don't want to say suffered. I don't like that word, but I'd rather go through as a business owner with my sister than to be told what my agenda is for that day by somebody else controlling my paycheck. I would much rather deal with the risk involved in having a business with my sister, all the highs and all the lows that go with that, than to be sitting at a cubicle somewhere waiting for somebody to give me my next assignment.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to inspire a lot of people, because there's some people that's right on the edge of making that determination whether they should, step out of their comfort zone and make a different decision, a different choice that could lead to an entirely different life they probably couldn't have imagined before. Something that just need that push. They need to hear from people who have made risk a real thing, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it can look like on the other side, right? So there's a lot of opportunity that comes with risk. Just decide which risk you want to take, but you have to have action. You have to take action, right? Absolutely.
That's right.
We would caution people to take calculated risk. I wouldn't say that you just jump out there and don't think. We were in a position, thank you God, that we had nothing to lose in that moment and everything to gain. And then we had to make some decisions, because then, when they called the good old federal workers back to work, what were we going to do? We had this new business that was thriving, and the promise on the horizon of being this great, wonderful new venture. And then you have your good government job and those 6 figures. And, we had to weigh. Before, I would say, take a calculated risk and weigh your options, and then determine, what I can do in the short term and the long term, and then go for it. But don't throw, everything out and just, jump out there without thinking about some of the consequences. So we got to be smart in our risk taking. And sometimes, you will step out there and it may not make sense to anybody else, but make sure that you think it through and you don't just jump out there without a parachute for real, and you ain't prayed and God ain't tell you to take that step over that cliff. So I would say, make sure you weigh your options very thoroughly before you just step out there and throw it all away.
Yeah. Has this made you a better leader individually?
I think so. What do you think, Sissy?
How would you lead people differently now versus how you worked before?
I think I'm more equipped.
I think after this experience, our eyes are open on so many levels now. We've experienced so many different things. We can definitely come from a different space and being a leader. We're more well-rounded now.
Yeah.
But we are both, I believe, natural leaders. And yeah, it's made us, it's so, when we started this business, people were calling us their mentor. One girl said, y'all are my mentors, y'all just didn't know it. So people are watching, and they actually look to us to give them some sort of advice and guidance. And we're trying to figure it out as we go. I think it has caused us to definitely be, you know, very transparent with others even, and not try to make it seem like we know all the answers, because we don't. And we're learning. I think that's one of the crucial ingredients in being an entrepreneur. You have to be willing to learn always. I don't care what level of greatness you think you've achieved. You always have to. I don't care what television show you've been on. It doesn't matter. You always have to be in a place of humility and being willing to learn, so that you have something to teach or lead somebody else to do. So I'd say we're definitely good, better leaders.
I love this. I love this. So what has been the transformation that your product offers to people? I mean, what did they feel? What did they experience as a result of being a part of your brand and a patron of your product?
I can answer this because I'm going to say it, because I didn't make it. I ate it. Okay. My feedback is like, if I'm hungry for something, I say, Sissy, can you make this? Sissy, I want that. What do you think about this? You know, I get to do that piece of it, and she does the same thing. But I can tell you from a person who did not choose cheesecake as my first choice of a dessert. I ate cheesecake, but I never told you this, sister. Because of you, it is now my favorite dessert. I would choose your cheesecake, our cheesecake, over cake and icing now, because that was my thing. I love icing, all kinds of icing, and I love cake. But this cheesecake right here, I think because of the way that she birthed it, the way she came up with it, her desire, and literally, she really honestly did make her family, her household, taste every version until she perfected this recipe. She bought all these special pans. The ingredient that people can't see, that's not on the label, but can taste, is her love and her heart. Wow. That is the ingredient in that cheesecake. And when people taste that cheesecake, they get something that you can buy a million cheesecakes and never get. That girl's heart is in every recipe, every one of them. And it comes out when I like to eat. I'm the foodie, right? So when I eat something good, whether it's my sister's cheesecake or something else, I like to just bite and just be like this. That's what she does. That's what she gets out of people. People really react that way. People who've never had cheesecake, virgin cheesecake eaters. People who are call themselves connoisseurs of cheesecake, and they've had every cheesecake. The best cheesecake that are most popular in other places will come back and say, I have never had a cheesecake like this. This is the best cheesecake I ever had. I can say it because it's true. She can't toot her horn like I will. It's true. They get an experience that their mouth has never had.
Well, let me tell you, I've ordered it twice, and you're absolutely right. It's good. It is fantastic. My whole house loves it. Absolutely.
I think another thing people get out of our cheesecake is hope. And I hope, that we can inspire people, to step out on faith, that there is hope, even in dark spaces, that, I'm so very thankful, because my goal was to make somebody smile. So as they taste the cheesecake, I'm thankful that, that goal has come to fruition, and people do smile, and it makes them, what's the word, Sissy? It makes them forget. Sissy said she forgot about her circumstance when she first ate the cheesecake. So I'm hoping
that's powerful. That's pretty powerful.
The best that they've ever had. But I'm also hoping that they get a little bit of hope and inspiration out of it as well.
Well, listen, I'm excited to see you all flourish the way you are. Your inspiration. I love the idea that leadership skills don't have to be learned in a school and a course at a big university, but it's from experience. You all demonstrate those leadership skills that you find in the C-suite. Humility, camaraderie, collaboration. It takes a community. You have to have self-awareness, right? Emotional intelligence, all of those things, we talk about all the time that we find maybe in those corporations, but through the avenue of entrepreneurship, you've engaged in those same skills. And I'm glad to see that as African-American women, you're pursuing this. And each day you're learning something new, and this new wisdom pops up that you can share with other people on a road or a path they haven't been on, and you're discovering it. So that's very, very exciting. And as we close out, I want to ask you a little bit about, what you're doing now in terms of community. I see that you've done a lot of community work. You've been in the media, New York Times, Forbes, Oprah Magazine, Ellen DeGeneres, Black Enterprise, Flip This Wrist podcast. So what are you guys up to now? What are you doing?
We have some exciting things on the horizon.
Great.
National Cheesecake Day is coming soon. That's on July 30th.
Oh,
and we'll
awesome.
have a big announcement about National Cheesecake Day coming very soon. Of course, we'll have delicious cheesecake specials. Of course, we'll be inviting people to participate with us in our local area, but we'll have a great, wonderful, exciting announcement. So stay tuned for National Cheesecake Day to hear what's happening soon. And we're just, we want to continue our Slices of Smile campaign. We started that during COVID.
Yeah.
What we were doing initially was giving our customers a little something extra. So we were adding a slice of our lemonade cheesecake to our customers, just, to say that we're thinking about you, we care about you, keep your head up. And we expanded that to be able to get first responders and those essential workers slices of smiles with the help of other people in our community, whether it was individuals or businesses. So we were receiving donations. We are receiving donations.
Yes.
To give to first responders, essential workers, and even workers. There are companies who want to bless their employees. They're coming back to work. We have our annual meetings going on, a lot of different things that are going on, and they want to then get slices of smile to give to their employees, to donate to a senior facility, to give to hospital staff. So our Slices of Smile campaign will continue because our goal is to have 1 million slices across the country, just to say, you're special and we care.
Well, I'm hoping I can help spread that message for you through this podcast and to share it with other people so they know what your mission is and how you're actually accomplishing it. I think it's fantastic. So any last words of wisdom, anything you want to leave? I'll leave the last word with you all. Any thoughts?
You waiting for me, Sissy?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, first I want to say I thank you, Dr. Hardy, for having us on. It is, I don't know, this did something for me today. Just even your questions and just being able to reflect and go back and have this conversation with my sister. It blessed me today. So I thank you for the questions that you asked. I thank you just for your spirit. I thank you for being a supporter too. I mean, that's beautiful because sometimes we be like, fight the power, Black business. And then, they don't buy cheesecakes always. But thank you for being a supporter of our business, and that blesses us. Let me say, my sister said, so locally, we do have a big announcement we're going to make, and, the local community and everything, but I'm just saying, I think it's worth getting in the car if you're not even from this area. I'm just saying, unless you don't have to, if you don't have to cross rivers and oceans and stuff, it just might be worth coming this way. I'm just saying. So, but I didn't want to just make it just, DMV area. But count your blessings. I'm gonna just say that I don't care how bad things get. If you're still here to even see anything that's going on right now, there is some kind of way or reason that you can be grateful and count your blessings. Things can always be better, but they could be worse. And I say, count your blessings. Life is too short to major on minor stuff. It's too short to be in disagreement with someone, to have fallouts in your personal life and in your business life. I say count your blessings. Consider life a blessing. Today is a blessing. And be grateful, even for the hard lessons. They hard.
Yeah.
But be grateful for them, because if you go through it the right way, you learn something and you can come out on the other side better and stronger. So life without risk is just boring.
And
I love
I
that.
would add that with all that is going on, we have, you know, the COVID epidemic, we have a pandemic, I should say. We have unrest in our communities. We have, you know, social injustices, and there's so many more things that are happening in this world. What I would say as a community, let's figure out how not to be so selfish. Let's look at, you know, the goal of our business was to make somebody smile. Let's look for ways to help people within our communities. Let's give back. Let's get back to caring about one another. It's not just about me and getting rich and making my pockets fat. It's about what we can do in our community, how we can spread love, how we can help our neighbors take a risk to better their lives, how we can teach young people to take a risk to plan for their futures. Let's not be so selfish and stuck in our own bubble. Let's figure out ways to empower the people around us. And I believe there's enough air for everybody to breathe. Let's breathe together and spread love and joy amongst each other. And you know, not be so selfish. Let's look for ways to empower one another. And I appreciate you for allowing us the opportunity to speak and hopefully impact our community in a much bigger and better way.
Well, that's what we're doing right here. This is an example for others that, you know, reach out to another, you know, organization, company, women, empower each other, amplify your message through a tool that I have, and then let's spread it so that everyone can benefit. So without that, then, you know, my desire and mission isn't being accomplished, but I have to invest in other people. And this is what my investment is. So this is fantastic. So I want to thank you for being here today, and thank everyone for tuning in to Flip This Risk. I'm Dr. Karen Hardy, and I'll see you next time.